13th. Interesting. So a couple of quick thoughts. I put the hat on because I was having hat head. It was on earlier. Cold in Florida and gray. I was going to do a show last night from outside by the poinsettias using the man-made illumination, but it was raining and miserable, so I decided not to. Maybe we'll get to it today if it's there. They're beautiful, nice and red. It's that Democrat red. Uh, so I had a lovely chat this morning with Meg, and we came up with the realization that the reason we have all those National Guard troops in Washington is so Biden will have somebody there for his inauguration. Think about how funny that is. That's right. How about the idea he couldn't fill a 7-Eleven parking lot? And they're going to have what George calls the grassy knoll. They're going to have 200,000 flags or 200 flags representing the thousands of people that would have been there but for the COVID. Yeah, okay. But that's going to be all fenced off. So, got in a bunch of interesting thoughts. Come on, that was funny. That's why the National Guard is there, so he'll have people. All right. So, are we sure? Is he going to be there? Is he going to broadcast on the big screen with a Zoom? Or are they still debating? Or does he not remember? He'll be told what to do. I was going to come back last night and give you some nightmare stuff to sleep on, so I'll give it to you now since you're in Australia, but it really doesn't pertain directly to you. A lot of interesting comments, and we've got one that our boy Pechenik, that well-known truth teller, evidently from Tom over at Respectfully Tom, made the comment that Pechenik said that this is a hard coup by Trump. Now, I didn't hear it over there on the Alex Jones show, but evidently, purportedly, Trump said this. I'm sorry, Pechenik said this. So wait a minute. What if that was reversed? Here's your nightmare. Biden gets sworn in. He declares martial law. Now we have a military takeover of Washington. Boom. Now, since we're having these characterized actions of domestic terrorism, they will all have to be tracked down and captured because under martial law, he suspends the Constitution and he's the dictator. And guess what? Boom, it's done. How far of a stretch is that? Right? Well, good morning, Cindy Sue. Yeah, sorry I didn't get Piglet back on screen yesterday. Piglet had left the room. Piglet had left the building. So think about that for a second, right? Biden gets sworn in, declares martial law, it's a state of emergency, suspends the Constitution, and begins rounding up the domestic terrorists because this is a massive nationwide insurgency. And these will be all of the people that are objecting to the real insurgency. And when our boy Pechenik says this is Trump's hard coup, it's actually Biden's hard coup. It's the reverse of reality. Perhaps when Pelosi says that she wanted the launch codes taken from Trump, why is that? Because maybe she's thinking that there will be something they're going to do. What if there is, God forbid, a nuclear attack planned somewhere, and they want to take the code so we can't fight back? Maybe that's why FEMA was, what do we want to call this, activated. I mean, how come FEMA isn't activated every day in Chicago, right? Well, the media isn't covering how many people are being killed every day. They're not talking about how many deaths are not on the, other than their favorite germ warfare dispersion. So that's very interesting, isn't it? Right? How many people died from heart disease, the flu, dementia, car accidents? Name it. Run the list. We can check the CDC. In fact, when Johns Hopkins put that out, it said the number of deaths in the U.S. had not increased. It stayed the same, but what did change was the number of deaths in the different categories. But what did increase was COVID, so they said it was mischaracterized. Interesting, and that has been taken down. I put that link up a month ago, and it wasn't from Hopkins' website. It was from archive.com. Well, now, just saying. All right, so I've got some links for you, and then we'll come back to this. We couldn't get George yesterday. He was chatting with Ann Vandersteel. Now, I guess if I was George, I'd rather chat with Anne too. If I was me, I'd rather chat with Anne than George. So maybe there's hope rather than that crew that he normally hangs out with. Who could blame him? So I'm putting that link in for you here. Sorry, no numbers. First link, Amazing Polly on BitChute. It's a long thing, but you might want to check the last 4 minutes. I don't remember what she put in there, but it was very interesting. Polly hits the majority of everything, has a couple of very interesting clips, has a good perspective as usual, but she makes the point there's so much crap being thrown at us, which we've all been saying, and I've said it. It's like, how do you wade through this garbage? That's part of the abuse technique, right? Hey, Denise, yes, fraud in the PCR tests. The death certificate's it's not fraud, it's fabricating official documents. There you go. Hang on a second. So, love your comments on the thought that Biden and the Democrats are setting this up to declare martial law, suspend the Constitution. They have the military right there. They take over Washington, and we'll see how that plays. As far as George's theory of, Pence issuing an expungement order, I think that's complete nonsense. So they did impeach Trump again. And I saw the headlines at the 7-Eleven this morning. And of course, it's saying Trump is impeached twice. Well, that's got to make Trump feel good. That sets a record, right? So he gets to say, I'm the only guy who ever did that. I'm the biggest, the best, the greatest. I got impeached twice. Yeah, that's pretty funny. So we'll see. The Senate is going to reconvene as it stood last night on the 19th. So it's the day before. And the argument that says they can impeach him once he's out of office is, what should we say, logically impossible. The impeachment is to remove from office. After he's gone, you can't remove him. But we'll see. So maybe it's all about Pelosi trying to get that impeachment on the record in order to intend to prevent Trump from running again. Or maybe it's just her throwing crap to smear him up because she's a nasty little thing. Or maybe that whole thing was the setup. I think there's really multiple layers, all intended to push in the same directions. They get two for the price of one, right? I still like the orange hat theory, whether it's Antifa or ex-military, or maybe ex-military is in Antifa, or Antifa is very well rehearsed. We know how organized they are. There's a clip in Polly's video, two things. There's a woman that was in there talking. She's talking about the people showing up. Polly runs the timeline, which would mean it was basically impossible for the crowd at the speech rally to make it to Capitol Hill in time that the nonsense there started before they would have gotten there. Interesting. Very interesting. And then comments on the server. Okay, the server. This is not an IBM mainframe like the old days. They make things called, and this is to Schaefer out there, right? They make the thing called blade servers that are real thin, small. That could easily be stuffed in a jacket or in a little backpack. Or a small desktop unit. Go look. They're not the giant desktop units. Because it's a server means nothing. It's all the hard drive. They could pull the hard drive out of there. It also depends how it's set up. The server may not even be there, but it probably is. There's good testimony in Polly's video, which is our first link, talking about the sergeant at arms. And he said he was calling for the National Guard to come in. And who does he report to? Well, the sergeant at arms in the House reports to the Speaker. The sergeant at arms in the Senate reports to the Majority Leader. So that's McConnell and Pelosi. And which one of them responded with, yeah, let's call them? Neither. You think maybe they're aware of what happened? I don't know. Let me see here. The Q team have written this planetary show. It's a story that would be told in reverse. Okay, ass man. That's a great theory. All right, we'll see. On the other hand, if somebody spits in your face and they tell you it's raining, it's your choice to believe them, and that's what we're getting. What's Bowman say? Truth without a narrative. Let me see here. Bradbury, there you are. Truthful reporters on the web. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you have to adjust the opinion. Look, I called it the other day. Trump's not going to do a damn thing about this. Hopefully, I'll have to eat my hat, and I will do that gladly. But I think that's odds on that are slim to none. The Trump address is link number 2, campers, and this is his 5-minute spiel. What's that song by Eric Clapton? Lay Down Sally? Yeah, that's the one. Be peaceful, don't resist, accept, let them lie, cheat, steal, and what? Yeah, there you go. That's a very rather disheartening. We're never going to quit. Does that sound like we never give up to you? Or does it sound like there's an ulterior plan? You decide. Well, now, I don't like it. Now, then we've got the discussion from NTD, which is part of the Epoch Times group, I believe, talking about the troops going into Washington, right? That's a good little clip. It's interesting. Next is this clown Doug Napel, T-E-N, capital N-A-P-E-L. He's talking about Lynn Woods. Now, this is interesting. This guy, people have sent me his links. I watched him, a buffoon. This is, the Q team is in charge. This is your hopium garbage. But he's talking about Lynn Wood, and evidently a judge, and I don't remember now, was it Maryland or Delaware, where Carter Page is suing for defamation. This judge removed Lynn Wood from the case, claiming that his moral character is insufficient. So now the judiciary is attacking the lawyers. All right. Also, I heard there was somebody incorrect as to their conclusion, but if the facts, and I say if, the facts are right, the New York State Bar Association, which is a trade group that is not a licensing group, what the hell, they were going after Giuliani, but they don't have any authority to prevent him from representing anybody. So let's see if he's going to get disbarred, suspended, but that's not the Bar Association that does it, unless they're going to refer that to the grievance committee, who are the people that do that or that does that. And the grievance committee is part of the Office of Court Administration. Those are the people that are in charge of licensing, and then there would be hearings and whatnot, right? That's pretty much the way it is around the country, as I understand it. So bar associations are basically lobbying groups or trade groups, right? New York State is a little different. I've been out of that loop for a while. I was a member for a short while. I said, what's the benefit? Didn't even bother, right? What's BS, Cindy Sue, that they're going after Giuliani? No, they're definitely running their mouth about him, no doubt. And this judge talking about Lynn Wood, I don't know if that's the judge that was sitting on the case. He may have the ability to kick the counsel off of that case. I think he does. So it's an interesting thing. So they're attacking the attorneys who are challenging this. So where exactly has good old clown boy, right, Trump doing something is bullshit. Yeah, I agree with you. Cindy Sue, I'm glad you're back. I was wondering. I said that a couple days ago. So what was I saying here? We're talking about Lynn Wood and Giuliani, right? Now, clown boy Giuliani. Why did Trump pick him? Because all Giuliani did is say, we're going to the Supreme Court. We're going to the Supreme Court. And like that's somehow going to have a magical effect. Well, let me give you a heads up. I caught it, and I don't have the link for you, but the Supreme Court denied the expedited, what are we going to call it? The calendar advancement request made by Sidney Powell. So that means they're going to just push it into their normal flow of things. Okay, so the emergency side of that doesn't work. I told you, my thinking was Trump should have declared martial law, got to the bottom of this in a limited format, and then once that's done, either have a new election and then resolve it, and then undeclare it and walk away if he lost, right? But he didn't do that. No balls, I think, was the expression I used, right? Good morning, Sonia K. Do you have shamrocks floating in there? Where's Radcliffe? Good morning, Morel. Don't know. Oh, cigarette went out. Now, so this guy, 10 Napel, whatever, he's talking about Linwood. I don't think much of this guy. He's a hopium dispensary. Maybe he's in Colorado. Don't they have dispensaries out there? All right, McDuff and Webb with Addy ads. This is it. That's number 1, 2, 3, 4. But you'll have to count. I don't have numbers. And Addy ads. We have to put Addy in. We don't want him to feel that he's being excluded. So George talks with McDuff from the street. George is out on the street. Shows some pictures of MRAPs is talking with Vandersteel. And it's an interesting discussion. Maybe worth checking in on. I'm glad George adopted the theory of the motorcycle gangs. But he's saying maybe they came down out of Fort Drum. I don't know. Yeah. Cindy Sue, I think I made my point on Sunday on that. And if you haven't seen the Sunday show, campers, yeah. Well, let me see. Well, let me go over where they're going to go with this, right? PAC money, any Republican. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, now they're playing games with the money on that, too. So now it's the punishment. Do as we want, otherwise you will be isolated. You will be banished, and thus people will be rounded up, people will be confined, people will be singled down, and those people are anybody who disagrees with their message. Now, I caught some of this stuff on the House floor yesterday on YouTube for a couple of minutes. I had to. And I saw this guy, Rankin or Raskin, clown, Democrat, and he's going on talking in conclusory terms, and at some point he inserts that this is a racist attack. The attack on the Capitol was racist. I mean, it was laughable. It's like, where did that come from? And where's there any indication that this is racist? But it's like he had to get his full litany of the talking points, so I guess Tucker Carlson could respond to it, or they could play it on MSNBC, or he gets extra points from his handlers. After that, though, was excellent, was Matt Gaetz, who came out. They're saying, we're talking about throwing gasoline on the fire. He said that's figurative. In reality, you've got the Democrats watched cities literally burning with fire and didn't say anything. I'm surprised that Gaetz didn't pop Nadler and say, and Nadler calls Antifa a myth. So, is that aiding and abetting, covering up, or is that, what do you want to call it? Accessory after the fact. I mean, it's so ludicrous when Nadler says that. Now, on that line, what's his face? Levin last night made a very interesting point, which I didn't know, and you'll find this interesting. He said that Nadler, at the end of Clinton's term, for pardons, Nadler had Clinton, he lobbied him to commute or pardon two people. Who were they? Rosenberg, a woman, and Evans, I want to say, both of who were convicted of domestic terrorism and had lots of dynamite and were planning to blow up the Capitol. Nadler lobbied to get them pardoned. And he's the guy that calls Antifa a myth, and Clinton pardoned them. Interesting, isn't it? But Nadler's now talking about domestic terrorists. Yeah. Right, I think that's our same Rosenberg, exactly. Cass Philly, Cam-Dem. Good morning, Agent Orange. I didn't pass your info on up to Webby. I haven't talked to him yet. But I appreciate you having to delete your comment. Better safe than sorry. Yes? Yes. All right, so McDuff and Webb are there, so George now is going with the motorcycle gang theory. Who knows? But one of the comments in Amazing Polly's video is a guy saying he saw guys walking with walkie-talkies. He thought they were military in plain clothes, right? And but as he heard them talking, he was saying they were looking and discussing different ways to disrupt this event. So he figures they were the Antifa crew. Interesting. Polly has some good clips in there. It's a long clip. It's 45 minutes. Maybe you want to check it out, right? Trump's address is the second link, which is basically saying, be peaceful, lay down, go home. This is the opposite of what I heard him say, we never give up. What happened? Now, let me just say, parenthetically or actually directly, I don't know who's going to go to that thing in Washington. I mean, Biden couldn't fill up a phone booth with people for his campaign rallies. He couldn't fill up, somebody said, the 7-Eleven parking lot. I love that. That's number one. So why would Trump supporters go there? Anybody who is anti-Biden, I wouldn't go there. This is a very dangerous setup. I would steer clear of this big time. They are planning something. And now they're expanding it to make it the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, to increase the space in order to have a disruptive event, to call it domestic terrorism, to support their legislation that will be forthcoming shortly. Perhaps Biden will get in and declare it martial law, suspend the Constitution, and then pursue domestic terrorists, enforce vaccines, incarcerate, confine, and all of that. And we now have gone full commie in a flip. Now, I put in today's title, the demoralization phase. Well, watching an election have such questionable processes and not being addressed and being prevented from being addressed, because what happens if the Senate is on hold until the 19th, right? And the inauguration is the 20th. They're not going to have an opportunity to allow Trump to present his evidence, assuming he wants to go through with the trial. And as I said, there's a thing called due process. So there was really no due process in the House hearing yesterday, but they came up with their bill. And what was the other one? So the Senate isn't going to do it in a timely manner, but it will basically prevent Trump from presenting his evidence, which means no courts have heard it. It hasn't been presented out in at his campaign, in the House, at the Electoral College vote, at the questions. So talk about demoralizing. He's come out and said, oh, look, look, look. A lot of other people on his behalf have said that too. And there's enough questions where this clearly needs to be looked at. My favorite is the extra 800,000 votes that appeared in Pennsylvania, right? 1.7 million mail-in ballots got sent out. 2.5 million got sent back in. How does that happen? I'm just curious, Clearly, they were all the same ballots, right? There were nothing mysterious there, nothing fraudulent there, no improper ballots there, no fake ballots there, right? Yeah, so an extra 800,000. Wasn't that the number that he was up by before they stopped counting? Why did 6 states stop counting at the same time? Interesting. Hang on a second. This is a good way to save cigarettes. You put it in the ashtray, it goes out. You have one puff. Now, I think in all of the confusion, rather than firing 6 shots, they only fired 2. The only 2 states that were challenged was Arizona and Pennsylvania. Nobody challenged Georgia. And Loeffler, who supposedly lost in the second election where they used the same equipment and the same techniques, she rolled over. Maybe her name is Sally. And what happened was she decided to not challenge. And everybody is feigning outrage at the Capitol Hill attack, protest, invasion with orange hats and Buffalo Boy. Well, Polly talks about Buffalo Boy. He might just be a raging lunatic too, just loves to get out there and scream. He's a big screamer, evidently, in Phoenix. How do you pronounce that? Pohenix? Hang on. And our favorite senator, super soldier, no. Our favorite senator, Barbara Boxer, cancels her lobbying plans. Evidently, there was pushback. So she was going to work for the Chinese company And then she decided. So I'm putting the link in to prove that that was real yesterday. Now here's my question to you, dear campers. Where'd she get the pushback from? Was it the public? Did the public scream at her? Did they call her up? Did they send emails? And you keep thinking they don't react. Well, now, they do. So, let's take a look at our next action plan. All of these idiot representatives, they can, talk about how horrible this thing was. Okay, great. What they have to be stopped right now from doing is stopped from passing this domestic terrorism bill. That will be stripping constitutional rights. They must be reminded they took an oath to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution. If they breach their oath, are they traitors? Ask them. All right? Every one of you needs to do this, because if you don't, the question is, what did you do to protect our country? Right? I don't know. The Australians out there, it's late. Canadians, Germans, Brits, Asians, you're all listening. Welcome. So, I don't know, can you chime in too? You could be expats too, right? Say, hey, you do mail-in voting, absentee ballots. I don't know. All of these clowns need to hear this, and these Democrat senators need to be reminded. So I would suggest that is the tack, because I am not hearing anywhere, have you, any of these talking heads. They mention the Constitution in passing, but they never talk about upholding it. And they mention it only when they're using the Orwellian flip-flop, right? The flip-flop says, while we're undermining it, we're upholding the Constitution. And the idiots listen to this, and they don't realize it's not raining on their face. Okay? Interesting. So, that's what I've got for you. Anybody thinking of going up to Washington, I would suggest don't. And there's any number of reasons not to. But I think the primary is, want people there. And is Biden even going to do that? It's ridiculous. It's a setup. And maybe they'll be building lists. Oh, yeah. And I don't know what to make of Trump. I told you that the other day. Yeah. Stay the hell out of D.C., exactly. And Bowser. I mean, there's a picture of her someplace, and she had her mask on. And as they steal our democracy, they wear their masks. At what point does somebody get to say, come on, we could do this with one hand? Get it just nice. Yoo-hoo! I'll make you famous. Check the film for further discussion. All right. But you're way too long. The train is leaving the station. But let's see, you never know. Maybe Trump will pull a rabbit out of the hat. So maybe that story about the 10th Mountain Division, and I pinned a good comment in there about them. Maybe the story about the 10th Mountain Division not following orders is nonsense. We'll see. But now when you have National Guard in Washington, my understanding of it is that they respond directly to the Pentagon. The mayor can do it, but the mayor's not a governor, and the Pentagon oversees them. There were a couple of layers. I remember that from the summer, right? I don't know what squirrels have to do with this. Oh, you tested the Yoo-hoo yesterday. Good. Shoot straight. All right, that's what I got for you, campers. So we've got Polly. Trump's address, real short and sweet. That sounds like a real, stand up for your rights. The troop discussion on NTD. Doug Ted Napal talks about Lynn Wood getting hammered by the court and removed from the case on, Carter Page. Then you have the long one, which is McDuff and Webb. That's interesting because I didn't catch all of it. I jumped in on it. And that's where Ann Vandersteel is there. And then you've got the quick link on Epoch Times with Barbara Boxer, who cancels plans to lobby for the Chinese company, proving that pushback works. Now, on there, I'm leaving the download our app, and if you haven't, you really should, because the headline bleed through on this Epoch Times is outstanding, so I'm leaving it in. And, of course, the PayPal link and the Patreon link. And there you go. Yeah, Lynn Wood's waiting for the rapture. Good morning, Candace. Yes, I'm going to call you a guy today. And by the way, for upcoming shows, we're scheduled for Mary Holland tomorrow, but we're not going to do it live. We'll record it and put it up. And Candace has reached out and has an attorney out in California who has filed an excellent lawsuit to stop, we'll see if it flies, but to stop the vaccination. So I haven't had a chance to read it, but we'd like to interview him and get this rolling. So let's see how this plays. Let's see what happens if Biden doesn't get into office, declare martial law, state of emergency, and suspend the Constitution. That's a hard coup, and he's got troops in place. And now Washington becomes occupied territory with the military. It's too perfect. Can you see it? My mind is clearer now. At last, I can see. Somebody was playing with those words when you strip away the myth from the man. All right, campers, thanks for tuning in. Give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. Please continue to support the channel. Be back at you later. I didn't get to play any music today, but we're working on it. It seems to be bringing balance back to the brain. Got a lot to catch up on. Yeah. Let's see, here's somebody, the prophet of doom. The end of everything that stands, the end, no safety or surprise, the end. It's not going to go that quick. If you listen to Joshua Phillips, who did live through communist China, they had been there. I mean, there's still people there. People escape and governments change. Now, I wouldn't take it with that little testosterone level, but if that testosterone is presented up front, those become political dissidents and they're removed. Listen to Bezmenov. This is the demoralization phase. Right now, then you have a crisis. Right now, that's why I'm saying Washington's going to be a problem, and I believe that's why Trump mobilized FEMA. That's my happy close. All right, guys. Who's saying this is a song? Oh, it's a song. It's a song from The Doors. Yeah, well, that's an interesting concept. And who was Jim Morrison's father? Wasn't he the admiral on the false flag, or it didn't happen, claim of the Gulf of Tonkin? It wasn't the Bay of Pigs, it was the Gulf of Tonkin, Vietnam. Ah, yes. And what is that little street up there in Topanga Canyon? What was that where the agency had their, was it the recording studio? Fascinating. I was playing Zeppelin this morning. I don't know about you guys with The Doors. That doesn't do it. And I magically was in the middle of rock and roll, or it's been a long time since I rock and roll. I said, how appropriate. And after that comes the Battle of Evermore, and I was actually going to punch it up and go live. And then we have Stairway, which I skipped, and then we have Misty Mountain Hop, because it's all a state of mind. All right, campers, we may need an LZ fix, you know what I mean? Cindy Sue, you mentioned Queensryche. They're pretty heavy metal. Why don't you throw a link in on that for today? I'd love to hear that song. I'm sure it's there. I saw you commented on it yesterday. Throw the link in. YouTube, no doubt. The whole album's up there. All right, guys. Good chatting. Yeah, Zeppelin over the doors. Plunkett, yep. Who let the dogs out? Cindy Sue says, okay. All right, we're all back, and we are live. All right, get your coffee, and maybe I'll get Webby up today. We'll see that the live stream still works, and then we'll have Mary, and then we'll do the lawyer, and we'll bring this up and see what's the point. The point is, don't get demoralized, because it means they win. All right, I'll find Bezmenov, and I'll drop this in. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, campers. FJ out. Bye for now. Like, share, subscribe. Maybe they won't censor it too much. Bye for now.